Hey, all you crazy people out there. It's episode 411, part 2 of the Operating in Inclement Weather episode. Hi, Mike.
Which is perfect because Hurricane Lee just came by and wiped absolutely nothing away in the United States.
Yes, we will rebuild. I will say that.
There's some knocked over patio chairs. They will.
I got Canada on my mind today. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know, because of this stupid shipping thing.
Trying to ship chemicals up to Canada for classes that we have. Yes.
It's impossible. I don't know what the hell it is. FedEx, everybody's scratching their heads. They're all pointing at each other, but there's people that know, and I have to know those people. So I'm going to be on a tear today.
Take a page from the cartel. We need a mule.
Yeah, or a submarine or something like that. So if you want to be a mule, let me know. So
that's right.
Anyway,
we pay great, and we won't kill you when you're done.
Yeah, and we'll leave you there as a prop or something. We'll leave you there. Anyway, Hazmat Specialist Happy Hour, the fourth Thursday of every month in 1900 hours. Go to the hazmatguys.com/happy, and you will hang out. Oh man, when is that? Is that this week?
Last Thursday of the month. Next.
It's tomorrow.
The 28th. No, tomorrow's the 21st. The 28th would be the happy hour.
Oh, right. You're right. Next week, the 28th, September 28th, is going to be the next one. And check out the FDNY shirt locker. I know they're back up, and they just put a whole bunch of new swag in there. FDNY Hazmat, the number one.com. And I think that's all I have on my list right now. And conferences are going crazy.
Yeah, what are the conferences that we're involved with at this point?
I know. I just talked to Toby Frost, who is Indiana. That is happening. That is November 1st. And then we have, I think he might be the last of the year. No, Oklahoma State Department of Health, which is a fire one. And then everything's after New Year's in Connecticut and Indiana and Florida. And I'll organize this list a little better.
You know where we should be right now? We should be at the Massachusetts conference. Right? Just saying.
Yeah, thanks, Travis.
I'm feeling a little homesick.
Thanks. I'm getting my spam phone calls from Hotel 1620.
Yeah, where are you?
Saying, do you want to book? All right, whatever. All right.
Let's get back into our tips. We've got about 8 or 9 of them. Actually, we have 8 for this one. And then we're going to do 2 of the really good tips in premium, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. In fact, you know what? I had that one tidbit while you're talking. I'm going to find that about... Oh, what was I talking about the other day about mixing things?
Don't remember.
That's all right. I'll find it.
I'm sure it'll pop up in your head 30 minutes after the show.
It will. All right. So anyway...
Yeah, so we were getting into inclement weather. We were talking about the things that change, and some basic ones like your response vehicle, right? You may or may not be able to use your traditional response vehicle. Responding in inclement weather can be incredibly dangerous, but just trying to get from one place to another in inclement weather, whether you're talking about snow, whether you're talking about rain, I don't think really heat and cold, like the severe heat and cold, would fall into this category, but definitely when something's falling out of the sky. You know, how you're getting there, how you're getting your equipment there, and your safe driving procedures in adverse weather. I know it's a very blanket statement because it goes over everything, but, you can't operate safely on scene if you can't even get to the scene.
That's a really good point. You know what? I mean, I talk to people about this like all the time, and like, people that don't deal with like snow on the regular are like, how do you do that? Like when you have... listen, I know a lot of people do deal with snow, but when you have snow, it's not like, we just have snow on the ground. It's like a Hallmark movie. Like when you start plowing snow and you have significant amount of snow, the width of the road becomes much, much narrower, where you could pull your rig down the road and you can't even open the doors.
Right.
So you had to almost position rigs where the doors can open up into driveways. And now everybody's in a single row, where you could be the 30th rig down the block. So, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff with adverse weather that could
where
be.
Your equipment is, how far away from it is, where you are on scene. That's not even talking about actually operating.
Yeah, well, that brings us to decon.
Ooh, This is one that I've always been a little bit interested in because I want to know before the hybrid decon, how the hell did people decon up in like Duluth? Like, what was the procedures? Like, did they just like get pelted with ice cubes in 3 different pools?
Yeah, just that's water with edges. That's ice. Ice is
hard water.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm always thinking, all right, so like, all right, decon in hot, we've all done that, right? We've done the level A or the level B or even bunk gear decon with that, and even the newest evolution of firefighting gear, which I'm going to say it out loud. I'm not fully on board with it. I don't know if it's just eyewash. I don't know. Like it's a sponge, and I think deconning with water. I think the more effective way in my head is just take it off.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. When everything that we look at with dry decon with bunker gear, it just makes so much more sense. You know, you literally push it through the bunker gear. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of water on bunker gear.
Yeah, but okay, so you got the hot, and you were saying like decon in cold is logistically very hard as well because at a certain point water stops working. I mean that like legitimately, like it just turns to ice. So it works in this bucket because I'm constantly moving it, but if I start applying it to you in a thin format, I create ice. And you see this in super cold firefighting evolution where you see the guys up in the bucket spraying water on the fire and they come down with icicles on the helmets and it looks awesome for your picture book. But at the same time, like decon, it's brutal and
it's brutal and it's not safe, right? Because even if you institute something like the hybrid decon, if you're in really, really cold weather, you're still dealing with water-based substances. You get to a certain point where those solutions are not going to work. Chemical reactions are not going to oxidize and cleave the different contaminants that it's supposed to. So, you almost drop down to, in super cold weather, you almost drop down to just a dry decon, where you're just going to take it off as carefully as possible without touching anything.
Right. And that, even one more weather condition that I'm thinking about that I don't think is addressed almost at all, as far as decon, because we're always deconning, it's a crappy day out. Let's push decon till tomorrow. But the point is like decon doesn't wait for your weather to agree with you. It's like, if it's pouring rain outside, you're deconning in pouring rain, and that makes logistics insane. Like now your 3-pool, if you're still doing the old school way of doing it, your 3-pool operation is filling really quickly. Everybody's contaminating everything all over the place because we assume it's just going to stick on the body. But now you're seriously just having a garden hose on everybody in line to go through the thing.
Yeah, you really can't even contain the quote unquote runoff because, like if I did an acid job in the rain, as I'm walking to go get deconned, I'm being deconned. And I'm not in a pop-up pool. I'm not in anything. And that takes into account then can the rain get into my suit? Because if the rain can get into my suit, can it bring the product into the suit with me?
In a diluted format? In
a diluted format, can I be contaminated without even realizing it just because I'm in the rain? It could change your whole PPE selection even beyond decon, right? Because if we look at like an incident-specific response for heavy rain, I mean, you absolutely the products they have different adverse reactions on you. They have different means of screwing up your actual scene itself.
Yeah, I don't know. Snow is snow, and snow is honestly not as hard as you think to handle. Rain's a problem.
Well, think of just you're right. You get a heavy rain and you have a fuel transfer, right? A fuel leak or a fuel transfer. What kinds of things? How does that change our operation? Well, if I've got literally pouring down buckets of rain, I have to seriously pay attention to the amount of water that's getting into my either my damage tank or even my recovery vessel. And that's just hydrocarbons. I'm not even talking about things that might be water reactive, right? If I've got to transfer
nonpolar,
if I have to transfer an acid that could be water reactive, now moisture becomes a serious issue.
Yeah, I would love to do a little more training and I would love to do I don't want to say a study, but like have a day where it's going to be pouring and get somebody contaminated. It doesn't have to be like a person. It could just be like a sheet of plastic, and then see how much is naturally washed off by real rain. Like gather that collection and then pull a sample, throw it through GCMS or FTI or whatever the hell it is, and see, okay, of all the contamination on here, which was managed, okay, we poured a cup of schmutz on there, how much actually fell into the drip pan for us to sample.
Right.
Before they even got into the decon pool.
Right. Probably one of those, remember those green dyes, DEP green dye tablets? That would probably be your
what was that, fluorescein?
Something like that. But man, the littlest speck would turn everything green.
So true. Do you remember there was a lovely guy in our company. He was like, well, if one's good, 12's got to be better. And he threw like 12 into like the river, and the whole river turned green.
I didn't do the river, but I did I was trying to do a dry ice demonstration in front of like the public, like for like
I was there for that.
You were there for that? Where I poured I put like 12 tablets in, and then instead of pouring a little bit of water, I accidentally poured the whole bucket of water, and there was literal boil over of these like 12 tablets, and it was what
Rockefeller Center.
Rockefeller Center. So we're in front of Rockefeller Center, and literally this green stuff just comes pouring out. Now these
staining
tablets
the concrete.
Not only staining the concrete, but like you could die like a literal river with one of these tablets, and I had 12 in the bucket. And oh boy, we had a covering boss that day.
It was the same stuff that they use for the Chicago River for Patty's Day.
Yes. Yeah. Same stuff. So anyway, but getting back to our heavy rain and things that we would do during a liquid transfer, it could have a major effect. Right? We've got to think about things like the hydrocarbon overflow. Right? If we have a product that's kind of open and we've got water getting in there, we know that most of our hydrocarbons are going to float on the water. So if we have a real good heavy downpour, we have to be seriously concerned about overflowing our container with that hydrocarbon. If we have water soluble products, right, instead of actually now pushing out the hydrocarbon, because that is a product specific, we're now going to be pushing out a diluted solution of whatever it is that we're carrying. So we talk about the acid before. It doesn't have to be something that's water soluble, not non-water reactive. Even just a regular hydrochloric acid, water starts to get into the container, and it is absolutely going to overflow. And now we've got a serious issue.
There was a I don't remember where I saw it, but it was something like to the effect of like emulsifiers. It was a foam thing, and they were saying that emulsifiers effect on ethanol is like minimal. It's not as much as everybody thinks about it. And it was like dilution of ethanol to like 900 times is still flammable.
Oh yeah. Well, they talk about that when you talk about like rail car, right? You have an ethanol leak, and you think, oh, I'll just pour water in it and dilute it. But now you just created, a 20,000 gallon ethanol spill is now a 300,000 gallon ethanol spill, and it's still flammable.
Yeah. Well, you know how you know that?
I would say training.
Very nice.
Anywho, so yeah, it's one thing I cannot believe we haven't spoke about. I don't think in either episode is wind.
Oh, that's true. I mean, I just always assumed inclement weather as being something falling from the sky or a temperature. All right, wind. What are your thoughts on wind? Like, how does wind?
It's people. I just want you to understand. We didn't have a list of things that possibly could be like bats and toads falling from the sky.
Locusts.
heavy rain, snow, hot, cold, those are the major components, but I didn't even think about wind. Could you imagine? All right, so let's say we have, and again, wind is going to determine I always think if I'm contaminated from something, it is because it's applied in a thin format.
Right.
I don't have a bucket like hanging off my back, but there's 2 gallons on my back.
5 gallons of acid on your body.
No. Right. So the pro of that thin application is surface area is maximized.
Right.
Which means any influence of wind would exacerbate or intensify the vapor pressure or the vapor production, means it's going to try to fix itself. I'm saying this in a general holistic type thing. Obviously, not all these chemicals work like this, but if you increase wind, I would argue that you are probably decreasing contamination at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're allowing the concentration to be diluted much more rapidly. And you also have a little bit better direction, right? If I've got a windy day and I do have a contaminant that's vapor, I know that I can get windward on that side, and I know that I'm going to be better protected. But from an operational point of view, how do you think heavy winds would change an operation? Besides communication and possibly visibility.
Visibility would be a problem.
Visibility could definitely be an issue. Safety
also,
considerations.
I would say tools. Tools flying off of elevated surfaces. Like, when you're in a suit and you're putting tools down like on ledges or something like that, those tools can be dislodged and thrown over the side of a building, fall and hit you.
You could be dislodged and thrown off the side of a building.
Sure.
Like, no, think about it. You're on like a chlorine car on a level A, and you've got 50-mile-an-hour winds. Like, how the F are you staying on that? Like, legit. Yeah. How are you going to stay on that? You need little magnet boots.
Oh, that's brilliant. The Hazmat guys, magnet boots. New prop.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, yeah, I mean, we've got all sorts of different conditions. The wind could change your plume modeling, right? It could totally, you could have a very narrow plume. You could, there's lots of things that wind can do.
Yeah. I have one thing here. Where is it?
You had a mailbag that you were going to bring in at the end of the episode, right?
I did.
That's what it was. Mailbag.
Yeah, but I don't remember what the hell a mailbag was.
Ah.
You know what? I got enough trick. Now we got it. Okay, so it was a mailbag before we go into the final 2, which will be premium. The mailbag was, is there something of a open-ended chemistry equation? I think that was kind of how it was paraphrased. And I think it's a great question because it's not, I will say everything on the street is kind of like flim flam. I don't know how to say that right. Like,
well, yeah, because in reality,
so many variables.
In reality, if we're in a lab and we know our chemicals,
right,
and we know the concentrations and we know all that stuff, we can predict with high accuracy what the outcome is.
Right.
But when we come outside of the lab, and this is really true with like illicit labs, chemical warfare agents that are created in garages, and why sometimes they won't pick up on things like FTIR and Raman, you do have all different types of variables that could lead to various products contamination, different byproducts, different things that happen. And if this wasn't the case, then chemical engineering for industry wouldn't be so specific and so demanding to remove all of those variables so that they're literally producing the same yield, the same effect, the same chemical, the same property over and over again.
Right. It's a good one is the combustion of what is it, butane? I think it's butane. I can tell you definitively through thermodynamics, the coefficient of it, you're going to make water vapor and an X amount of water vapor. And it's going to give you also 3 products: carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. The ratio of those 3 are unknown because the temperature matters to it. The humidity matters to it. So the amount of water in the air changes the proportion. So every time you throw those dice, it's a completely different proportion based upon the surrounding properties. That's why, like in the labs, like Mike said, we can determine with relative accuracy what the outcomes will be, but there's still the variability of it. Like, what was the vapor pressure today, the relative humidity, etc.
As firefighters, we see this in actual real time, not on the hazmat world, but on the fire world. How many different fires have you been to? And you've had different smoke generation for different ones. I've been in jobs where you're standing up, I mean, shit's burning all around you, and there isn't any smoke. And then you've been to jobs where there's a little bit of fire, tons of smoke banked down. You know, there's no ventilation, so everything's just kind of smoldering. And that is a prime example of just the variable of ventilation, the variable of oxygen being added to that equation, changing the byproducts of combustion, changing what we're seeing happening all around us.
I love it. All right, we're back.
Hello, premium people.
You premium people, look at you. Oh, swaggy. Look at that little logo in the bottom corner. I love that.
I love the hat.
This is opulent Timmy.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
all right, so
two more.
Premium stuff. So we got some deep dive stuff, some thought processes that need to occur, right? So obviously when we're working out in weather, we absolutely have to prioritize our own health and safety. And this can be very, very difficult because we are so used to just going and operating a certain way under certain conditions that if we don't take into effect the weather and plan accordingly, we can be putting ourselves in danger. Simple things like the rain, hydrocarbons, slips and falls, ice, slips and falls, just those little tiny safety features or things to think about safety-wise could make a huge difference.
Yeah, and even the effect of it on the chemical physical properties, which I know we went over or anything, but like the safety of what we're doing, like the wind condition, like, you know, understanding how the surface area, as I pointed out on number 8, you know, like that kind of stuff will change the amount that can be on you. Even what if it flicks off me and goes to Mike? Right? Like those types of things, it's possible.
Right. So when we're looking at it, right, we say chemical physical properties, but understand everything we do is based upon product, container, environment, predicting behavioral model. And all three of those things change when you have inclement weather, right? That what the properties of the chemicals is going to do. The container might actually even change. You get a super cold day and you now have extremely brittle plastic. All right. Now maybe I can't operate a certain way around this plastic that would normally be very pliable and is going to crack under this extreme cold weather. So product, container, environment, we need to dress accordingly for the conditions that are out there. Right. This may sound we go to work and you know, you're going to go into a level A and it's 4 degrees out. Well, you may want to have sweatpants and a sweatshirt under that level A because it's going to be damn cold as hell. Just as I would want to have the absolute thinnest material in under a level A that's still long sleeves and long pants in the middle of a heat wave of the summertime.
Right.
So make sure your PPE is dressed accordingly.
And your communication. Like we were saying with wind, with whatever, there are now, you know, technologies out there that allow communication between the team, and the team can, like, you know, have like a internal dialogue, and then the team can then transmit that out to outside. So that two-way communication thing, it's kind of an important thing, and it's much more difficult in extreme weathers.
Yeah. I would say using the appropriate environmental control measures would also be something that is important. And just, I got a leak and it's pouring out. Do I really need a pop-up pool? Like, is it really going to make it? I'm in the middle of a rain and windstorm. I'm going to lay out a pop-up pool. It's going to fill with water. It's going to overflow. So maybe some things that you would normally do, you kind of take with a grain of salt and say, listen, today's really not the day for that.
We did hear a story about, you know, like step off pads, like where you kind of stand on things and move through. Well, if that's in the hot zone and you move that, it gets blown away. Wherever it lands is kind of a new hot zone.
The new hot zone. that has to be part of your incident command setup, right? I mean, there's a reason why we say go upwind, uphill, and if you're upwind, then anything that blows from the hot zone, whether it's a chemical, whether it's decon equipment, right? Whether you're doing a dry decon and all of a sudden a piece of PPE takes off in the wind and flies, out of the hot zone area or some kind of fiber tech pad, anything like that, it's going away from your where everybody stays in your cold zone. So these are all the things that need to be kind of structured out and thought about ahead of time. Hazmat's already slow enough. When you have inclement weather, make sure that gets taken into account.
Yeah, and there are so many freaking tools. I think this is a good wrap up. I think there are so many tools for you to check on your weather. Like, I understand the Aloha model, and I'm not poo-pooing Aloha. I know, but that was cute in the 80s and the 90s. And now on your phone, you have the ability of pulling up hyper accurate, like to the second data for free of exactly where you are.
True. Why not jump on my radar and be like, oh, look, in 5 minutes, we're going to get this cell is going to go by and we're going to be able to operate with less wind and rain. Can we wait 5 more minutes?
Yeah. I think there's being prepared for this, at least having a thought before it happens and not being like, I'm blindsided by this. I didn't see the wind thing coming. It's a part of life. And like wherever you live, if it's extreme heat and dry, like in the southwest of the United States, or it's up in the northeast where, rain and snow and cold comes, then don't be like, throw this whole topic on the kitchen table at the firehouse or the police precinct or wherever it might be, and talk about this beforehand, because like when it starts happening, you can't be like, oh, we didn't even thought about this. Right.